Hello, Exiles. It is day 2 of Dawn of the Hunt, and I am waiting for hotfix 6 to go live so that the game is a little more playable for myself and a lot of other players who are not playing the most meta stuff. Preemptive statement, if you're playing the game as Essence Drain Contagion or Crossbows or various warrior options, you're probably having a much better time than most people, and the launch has probably been like passable to even decent or good for you. If you're not in one of those categories, there's a very high chance you're experiencing a lot of shit right now. I don't want to be making this video, I want to be playing the game, but 6 hours of play and I did not clear Act 2. That's a pretty big thing, especially for me. In 6 hours, I was able to go from 1 to mapping in Poe on my Dominating Blow character way back in the day with all of the trials. That's like... that's pretty bad. It's pretty bad that the disparity is that big. I think actually currently for certain archetypes in Poe 2 right now, not only is your auto attack the best thing for you to invest supports into and actually play with, but in Poe 1, if you made a character and spent 0 skill points, you could probably get a better leveling experience. No, not even probably. You could get a better leveling experience by a lot. If you know what you're doing, you can do so many things to improve the leveling experience in Poe 1 and kind of distinguish your skill and knowledge of the game to make things fun. Poe 2 does not have that. Poe 2 has many more guardrails, kind of funneling you into certain options. A really great example of this is the Spear archetype, which I'm playing. And I think DS Lily had probably the best take on my experience as well, because I'm trying to play the lightning side of things, just like she does.
Why does that not do damage? That's gotta be bugged, dude. I don't understand what is happening here. This is genuinely the worst like leveling experience throughout any ARPG I have ever had. This is fucking insane, dude.
Yeah. It's been difficult, which is a shame because it's a beta. I'm here to test the new things. That's actually like what I told myself. I could have just played crossbows, because really the other thing I want to test is companions, and I could have done that with lots of different, baseline skills. And I thought spears. Let's go spears. And they have not been reciprocal of my enthusiasm, let me tell you. That said, parts of the archetype seem pretty good. Like Primal Fury or something is like the most recent skill I'd picked up before I just had to throw in the towel. And it has this really nice wave effect whenever you hit something, as long as it's shocked. And if you can get shocked ground down, that's great. But that's kind of also the problem with the archetype as a whole. You have to parry, which creates, two big issues. The first is parrying is kind of clunky. You have to parry an enemy, right? You have to not get overwhelmed while parrying and then get stunned and pretty much immediately killed. And then you have to use your disengage move. I think it's... I don't remember exactly what it's called. You have to use that and hit them. And it's very easy to use that and then hit a different enemy, because the targeting can be out of whack in Poe 2 still to this day. And that's stuff that can get fixed, right? They can be like, all right, we'll prioritize the targeting towards guys who have the debuff. And that'll be great when that happens, whenever that happens. But they're doing a lot of things right now to work on the game, because there's also performance issues for a number of players, and that's always going to push balance issues away. Now, if you're not as dedicated to playing like a given archetype as I am, I suggest, if you really want to play still, right, you haven't been completely burned, I named a few builds at the start, things that are much more successful and you're going to have a much better time on. Crossbows, Essence Drain Contagion, like as a Lich, more or less. Anything kind of warrior related. Ironically, warrior is actually in a good spot right now comparatively, because there were so many complaints about it. They didn't get nerfed, and now by comparison they're golden. Wild how that works. Anyway, what I was talking about was how a lot of the spear toolkit is actually fun to play until you look at the effectiveness of it, right? Everything just needs to do more damage, but also too many things are conditional to perform well. That is to say, I don't think there's a single spear ability I've used yet that didn't require me to be doing something to make it better. Like, there was no button that I just pushed that did well. I think that's why auto attack is winning. The only kind of maybe exception is like the very first skill you get that makes the little tornado. If you drop that 3 times and walk out of it, it actually does pretty good damage. Or you could retreat out of it, and that's also cool. But it's kind of the lone winner. And then if you can get like a ground effect under it and use the tornadoes, that's actually quite strong. I think Tai Killer was doing something where they were using Eye of Winter to create chilled ground on command, and the tornadoes that they were shooting, like the twisters rather, were really powerful. So there's some combos that work and have potential, but that's a lot of setup for every monster pack in the game, which is just never really going to feel good to play. Hotfix 6 is coming down. It's basically going to slap a 25% less HP modifier to every enemy in the game, which is more or less 33% more damage to us. It's an inverse relationship you have to consider, which will help a lot. That will definitely make it so I can at least proceed again, which is why I'm waiting for it. But overall, the real thing that I think has people burned right now is not just the pacing, but how did this get released in this format, right? GGG has a little bit of answering to do, unless we're going to find out that there was a bug that caused enemies to be given way more HP or players to do way more or way less damage than they're supposed to. This is very inexcusable that this needs to happen. Also, that it took so long for them to start deploying it. This should have been hit much quicker than that. The fact that it took time kind of implies that what was in the game at release was fine. I'm trying to understand how they would come to that conclusion, though, because there's so much in the game where you play it and it is just an absolute slog. As everyone is saying, that's kind of the word right now. Slog is the slog of the dawn of the slog. Whew. I have to keep my emotions in check because I want to be constructive. Grinding Gear Games, I think needs I think they need to hire some like internal testers who aren't good at the game. I think they need that very badly. Hire some casuals or get some family, right, who aren't very good at the game and be like, hey, play this, tell me what you think. So that when they tell you it was too slow, they didn't enjoy the way the game worked, they said they felt like they were constantly getting overwhelmed because the monsters are so much faster than we are. These are all valid concerns. A lot of them, for players in my skill bracket, probably don't mean much, especially in the campaign and whatnot, because we're just good at mitigating challenges and building our character to cover weaknesses like that. But in endgame, at a certain point, those concerns are going to hit everyone, and that's a big part of what worries me right now, because these are massive changes, and we don't actually have them yet. They didn't go through correctly because they need to do a realm restart. That was, as of this point, it's like more than 8 hours ago that they were calling for the realm restart, and it still hasn't gone through. Maybe it's gone through like right now while I'm making this. Nope, refresh, no change. Boy, where do we go from here as players? Well, I'm not giving up on the game, believe it or not. I've been with GGG long enough to know that even when things are this bad, they tend to get the ship righted. It's going to work out. If you're very upset, I would unironically say give it a day or two. I've had to do that in the past. I think Kalandra was a good example. I had to give it a day or two because I got to mapping, and the league mechanic was so much harder than the rest of the game. It really, really burned me a little bit, at least at the very top end. And then, some things got a little toned down and I was okay. The community response has been rather uniform. I do see the occasional people defending the changes to the game, like they enjoy the pacing that it's got and whatnot. I don't know what builds they're playing. If they're playing the better builds, I need you to understand, if you're playing one of the builds I mentioned, or your experience is not what you're seeing like in this video here, you're actually probably in the minority of people whose experience in the game right now. I would recommend explaining what you're doing and recommending it to people, because people are going to need that right now. The problem is we're in a beta and things need to be tested. So when it's not being tested because everyone is funneling into just a few builds, that actually works very badly for the progression of the game. They need to get on this real fast. And I hate to say that, I hate to say this even, the people who are having performance issues probably shouldn't come first when the gameplay issues are this bad. After all, if the people who finally get into the game after waiting forever get into a game that sucks, they're just going to be more upset. This, and probably a few more hotfixes, could have been pushed more quickly by the development team, but instead everyone has been working around the clock to get the crashes fixed. And yeah, I mean that's sure, that's probably a rough thing to say, but having experienced it personally, I can say right now, I kind of wish I was someone who was crashing. I wish I had to put this off for 2 days, because what I experienced yesterday was a waste of time. I could have gone and played more Elden Ring or Fallout 4 or something, one of the other games I've got in the background. I do think this right here is something they should do. This is an unironic, amazing idea. Sit down, guys, right? The next time you can give yourself a few hours, sit down, start new characters, stream it, right? Let everyone come in and talk about it. and play for a few hours. Not just so that we can see you playing these archetypes and doing the combos yourselves, but also because I have a buddy, Andre, good friend on the channel. We talk on Discord a lot. He's playing in a group, and the difference between party play and non-party play is staggering in the difficulty. You are punished right now pretty actively for playing in a party, at least during the campaign. And that itself is a real issue. There's just so much going on in Path of Exile 2 right now that needs to be worked on, and a lot of it you could fix with band-aid fixes like this, and they're avoiding doing that. I think part of this, because I've heard them talk about Path of Exile 1 in the past, is they're afraid of making changes that they cannot undo in the later because of how the community will react. But this is kind of an end result we're looking for regardless. You should be instigating those quick end result changes, and then in the background working on a more comprehensive change where you don't need to make a big numbers change, right? Because let's be honest, our abilities at lower levels just need to be doing more damage. It's especially if you're playing spears right now. I think there's like some bleed stuff that happens with spears as well that apparently is okay. But spears and a lot of other things, right? I mean, minions are just falling over before they can contribute at all to a fight. These things got to be fixed quick. They got to be fixed real quick, because this goes right back to what I was saying in the original kind of patch notes review, is that those patch notes probably pushed a lot of people out of playing, and now they're seeing this and they're like, well, now I'm definitely not playing. They have to right the ship quick, or they're just not even going to get much data from the player base. That was the strongest thing that happened in the 0.1 release, is they had a massive amount of people trying the game. Anyway, this was meant to be kind of a constructive rant. Also, just, you know, I feel like a lot of people who are frustrated probably want to see their concerns echoed, and that's important for your own sanity. It's going to get better. It always does. But right now, we are probably in one of the darkest Path of Exile periods. And it's going to be a short period, right? There's no way by this time next week the game isn't feeling good again. Until then, the pacing of this is very concerning, because again, this is like, they said, oh yeah, we'll do a realm restart to safely deploy it. Why hasn't the realm restart happened? That probably means there's more problems with this hotfix than they've advertised, and who knows how long it's going to take. Not to mention all of the other issues with the game. It could also mean, though, that they don't want to do this, and they like thought, well, since we're taking forever anyways, let's just do like a proper fix where they're gonna buff the abilities that really need the help, which should also be good. Anyway, thanks for watching, I guess. If you're watching, you're probably like me, where you're waiting for this to come out, and you want to play the game, but you don't want to play the game. I'm still excited for Path of Exile 2. I really am. And I'll say again, I think Jonathan has done a great job on a lot of things, but Jonathan has some work to do, like in how he approaches the release of certain content, because man, I'm just worried, you know? I think we're all worried. There's no animosity. I'm upset, but I'm not like angry, right? I just want to have fun. I want my time to be respected. And we don't have that right now, but we will. That said, I guess what this is really about, what I'm really harping on about over and over again, never not ending the damn video because I suck at this. They need to learn to not make these mistakes that create so much controversy, right, at the launch of something, because this is scaring people off. It's bad press, and it's not the bad press that's technically good press. This is the bad press that's like, people are keeping score in the back of their head. How often is this going to happen? Do they want to deal with a company that does this to them repeatedly? And Path of Exile kind of has been known to go through periods where we would have a stretch of leagues that had issues, and then we'd have a stretch of leagues that were perfect or better than perfect. And Path of Exile 2 really needs to get out of the negativity right now. They gotta move towards fun for a little while and rein it in later. You know, it's still early access. It's the one time you're allowed to give players something and then take it away later. And they did take things away. They took a lot of things away. That's not the problem with the game right now. The problem is that what we have left is not enough. Anyway, have a good one, Exiles.